Hello, League fans, and welcome to the 2018 NA Academy League. I'm Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, and I am honored to be closing out the Academy regular split alongside the man himself, Mr. Mark Zimmerman.
That's me, Mark Zimmerman.
That is you.
Man.
You are here yet again, as am I, my friend. It is the final day of the regular split, and as teams prepared for their final matchups this week, they also prepared for patch 8.15, which brings with it changes to 80 carry items, among other things.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest one people are looking at, and the overall approach to these changes was dropping the prices. So things like the Zeal line of items and Phantom Dancer and all that stuff, they just got about 100 gold knocked off them each, whereas the Infinity Edge Essence Reaver, they got the prices knocked down, but they also lost some stats like AD and things like that. And the entire goal is, of course, to get people to their item spikes even faster. If that comes at the cost of a little bit of power, that's considered a good trade-off because you're just trying to get to that 2-item power spike.
Well, a player that always picks up attention when talking about AD carries is Piglet, who helped Clutch secure their playoff spot with a win over Echo Fox Academy yesterday.
Yeah, and Echo Fox is playing a pretty interesting bot lane with the Morgana and Karma. And no surprise, you try that against Piglet, he's going to smack that right back at you. And he had a pretty good game on the Ashe pick, one of those champions receiving a little bit of benefits from those buffs. You see him turn off the Baron there, find a pretty easy kill, and they just kind of keep running away with that one. Also saw the Lee Sin in this game, who got another minor buff on 8.15, and you throw a great front line in front of them with the Cho'Gath and Orianna, and that's exactly what Piglet wants with Ashe.
Well, other notable changes in patch 8.15 include the prevalence of Fizz in the meta. After buffs 2 patches in a row, Tuesday gave it a shot in CLG's game versus FlyQuest, but Peckinwolf showed that a good counter pick can still reign supreme.
Yeah, and he went with the Rise counter pick for Peckinwolf, which is a pretty good matchup, or not matchup, but good against the Fizz with the point-and-click lockdown CC. Nice outplay on the flash there to avoid the damage, gets the last Q to trade the damage back. Nice play by Peckinwolf, who it's good to see someone on FlyQuest kind of stepping up and playing a little bit more of that carrier role. They built themselves a nice team comp, and we were talking last week about how one of the things we need is a more consistent carry performance out of either their bot laner or their mid laner, and they kind of got it out of both in this game, as well as No getting some good CC as well. Pretty easy game as they kind of ran away with that one.
And our final note for patch 8.15, and arguably the biggest one, Akali is enabled, rework and all, and TSM Academy tried her out against Cloud9 Academy in our first game yesterday.
And there you see the Akali pick getting some play, and Fizz as the counter matchup, so we got some nice assassin versus assassin gameplay. Not going so great for the Fizz right away. He got traded back on. And that said, he didn't come away with the win as C9 was actually able, despite looking like they were losing this game for a little bit of time, they find some cleanup kills on that Baron take, and then they eventually get their own Baron and come back and win that game. But it was a fun game to watch with both assassins in the mid lane.
Assassin v Assassin is just one of those classic matchups that gets people excited to see, because whoever wins, you get to see that person live the fantasy for that champion.
Yeah, everyone likes watching Assassins because generally they're just flashier champions, like Fox versus Fox. You want to watch that in Melee. And every game you're going to have those matchups where you're like, this is like what you want to see.
This is the dream right here. Well, we came into Week 8 with 6 teams still competing for a playoff spot, but after our Thursday games, all that remains is seeding. Cloud9 sits atop the table with a guaranteed first-place finish and a bye into the semifinals. Tied in second are CLG Academy and Team Liquid, who will battle for that second bye today. Clutch Gaming, 100 Thieves, and FlyQuest Academy fill out the rest of our playoff picture. And the bottom 4 teams are now officially eliminated from the postseason. Get some F in the chat to pay respect to them. While Spring Split and Academy saw only 4 teams competing for the finals, the playoffs for summer have expanded over to 6 in order to mirror the LCS format. Each round will consist of a single best of 5, with the winner advancing until only 1 team remains as Summer Split Academy champion. Those games will take place over the next few weeks, with quarterfinals starting next Thursday. We're starting each day at 3 p.m. Pacific, so set those alarms to make sure you don't miss any of the action. First, though, we need to determine the matchups, many of which will be decided by today's games. Cloud9 Academy goes up against Clutch Gaming in Game 1, followed by a battle for the bye between CLG Academy and Team Liquid. Then 100 Thieves will look to improve their seeding against TSM Academy. So let's dive right into our first match of the day with Cloud9 Academy taking on Clutch Gaming. And Cloud9 have topped the table all split long. They have already secured a bye, and this team seems destined for an appearance in the finals.
And today up against another playoff team, so it'll be good practice for them heading into the postseason. We said last week that this is a good time to experiment and test your limits for Cloud9, and we saw Golden Glue bring out the Fizz yesterday. It also seems like Shiro's the kind of guy who would want to play Akali, so I'm really looking forward to this pick ban phase and seeing what C9 is going to bring out for us.
Well, Clutch Gaming Academy are their opponents on the Rift today, and after taking home the win yesterday, they are locked for playoffs themselves and looking for better seeding.
Yeah, Clutch Gaming Academy could still finish as high as 3rd place if they can take the win versus Cloud9 today. And since they own the head-to-head against the other teams below them, at worst, they finish at 4th. So a big improvement over last split and a testament to the improvement of some of the newer guys on this team, especially Vulcan and Max Strobo, who have really stepped up towards the end of the regular season here.
Well, we can't get into the game until we get through the starting lineup, so let's go ahead and bring them on up. Starting on the blue side, it is Cloud9 Academy with Shiro in the top lane, Spinskarin in the jungle, Golden Glue at mid with Keith and Fang bot lane and support with Coach Westrice.
And on the red side, it's Clutch Gaming Academy, Max Strobo in the top lane, Moon in the jungle, Sun in the mid lane, Piglet bot supported by Vulcan with Coach McScrag.
Cloud9 Academy has been the one team that has just been so standout throughout this summer split so far here in Academy play. Like we said, they're the team that coming into this week, they already knew. We're first place. We've got the bye. This squad has looked fantastic.
Yeah, and it's been throughout having about 9 players play on this team.
Everyone
but Shiro has been swapped out at some point, and it's just a testament to the C9 organization, kind of making sure that they have talented players across the board. And I think it's worked out well for them in that sense with their C9 Academy roster, continuing to be at the top of the table both splits in a row, as well as giving them options on what they want to do in the middle of the split with changing out multiple people. And while Sneaky and Jensen eventually moved their way back into the starting lineup for the main roster, Blabber made his way up there as well.
Yeah, with style.
And
making
Zazel.
his way onto the LCS stage, Zazel as well. And honestly, the word options is a good word to use here for Cloud9 Academy, a team that when you find yourself with this amount of flexibility in the final week, you have the option to experiment a little bit, try some things out, see how you want to enter into the playoffs.
Yeah, and we'll see what that means, because right now, Aatrox is left up. We saw some people playing Aatrox chicken, as we started calling it, see if someone's going to ban it. You try and bait blue side into doing it, and then maybe you don't do it, see who's going to first pick it. And happened in Europe today, and there we go. Aatrox is coming through.
All right, Aatrox makes his way through. It's Morgana, Tomkinch, and Braum banned out by C9 Academy. They really don't like those supports, but it looks like it's not going to be Aatrox's first pick. Oh no, Mark.
New Akali, baby. This champion is certainly teed up for the game today. I have a pretty good guess that this was not a power pick. It was just like, I want to play Akali. I don't want to risk the other team taking Akali. So even though Aatrox is left up, I'm taking Akali.
Aatrox has been nerfed a little bit. Akali hasn't been nerfed. She's freshly reworked. What if this is the next Aatrox, and you're just playing the unnerfed version?
Maybe. So what's funny is when Aatrox came out, he had an abysmal win rate for a little bit of time, and then he received substantial buffs, but not like crazy buffs, and then he was just completely OP broken. So it hints to the fact that prior to buffs, people didn't really know what to do with him. Akali on release was like a 30% win rate. Hasn't received those buffs yet that she might not actually need, because we're seeing her have really high presence in Academy yesterday, 100% pick ban, and then seeing some play in Europe today. So despite some bad looking win rates, hopefully the balance team goes a little bit slower on buffing her than what kind of happened with Aatrox.
Yeah, we'll see how exactly that plays out, but in terms of this draft, it's playing out with the Akali picked up, like we said, on the side of Cloud9 Academy. Swain and Pyke also going to be complementing that roster, while on the side of Clutch, it looks like Alistair and Lulu will both be locked in.
Gonna be interested to see where the team comps go from here. That Swain and Pyke can run the bot lane together, and you get a bit of a level 6 kill lane. Has a lot of pressure. If you're able to hook somebody in, you get the double pullback with the Swain, you blow people up, it's great. And it kind of leads to one of these dive the backline comps potentially with the Akali locked in. But on the other side, Clutch is starting to set up a really annoying team comp to kill. Alistar has his ultimate. You got a revive passive on the other guy, and the third champion, Lulu, has a ton of shield health to give out.
Just awful to try to kill any of these. Playing an assassin into this lineup so far is not anyone's ideal situation. We'll see how well Cloud9 can pilot themselves around that one, as we do see Ryze and Graves come out as the first 2 bans here in the second half.
Yeah, Ryze being a champion, we saw the Akali taken last into the Ryze in the G2 game that was earlier today, I believe. And it actually did all right into it. He took Doran's shield, just kind of tried to out-sustain the Ryze, and with the Q healing on Akali, I'll probably get into a little bit more of the mechanics. once we're in the game and we can see some of that stuff happening. But she does actually have decent lane sustain if you can avoid getting all in too aggressively from range or really heavily poked out.
Well, one way that you get all in is if you get ganked pretty heavily, and there has been quite a lot of targeting towards the junglers in this second part of the bans, as we do see the Trundle and the Kindred bans also come in from these two teams. Both those champions have seen a lot of success, a lot of popularity lately, and they'll both be removed as Ezreal is locked in for Piglet and the side of Clutch Gaming Academy. That is another hard-to-kill champion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised Clutch kind of took that one there. They still have their jungler up. There's not that many priority junglers left, so I can understand maybe waiting, but I don't think it's going to be some jungle counter pick that makes their whole team comp tick. It feels like a lot of these are just independently, decently strong picks that are going to together make, like you said, a very hard-to-kill team comp. And as a result, C9 will be able to pick up the Sejuani.
Sejuani going over to Cloud9. More initiation potential, more CC potential. What do they want to pick as that final member to round out the roster? Thinking about the Gangplank, more explosive power, more carry potential from one of the solo lanes. I mean, when you've already got the pick-off potential of having the Sejuani into Swain into Pyke, I can understand just picking up more damage, and they're going to go with Fiora.
Yeah, a little bit more of a lane-focused counter pick into the Aatrox. A lot of people think with those nerfs that came through 2 patches ago now on the Aatrox that the Fiora can get the better of the matchup, and we've seen it happen.
It's so easy to read the cues and get the riposte to make sure that you have the stun and just set yourself up for a good situation.
Yeah, even the W from the Aatrox can get riposted pretty easily. There's like basically every ability he has that does damage, you can riposte easily. The problem is that he has like 4 of those abilities, and you
there's a lot of them.
You only get to do it on 1, but you can use your Q to dodge his Qs and reposition a little bit, and that's what people often try and do. But we'll have to see how it goes because the Vladimir last pick.
That is another champion that is so hard to kill.
Right, but it also allows them to flex the Aatrox to the jungle. So they don't get the Fiora counterpick, and they actually get a counterpick themselves up on the top side. So we got some mind games going on in the draft.
I wasn't even thinking about Aatrox jungle. I forgot this is even a thing. I'm still having flashbacks to Zyrene playing Smite Aatrox mid when that was a thing and stealing my chickens all day. But this is a real Aatrox jungle.
That was a really strong strategy as well. But this is
I know, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not fun when you're a jungler being held down. But hey, it's a strong Aatrox. Anyways, in this game, yeah, Moon on the Aatrox. It's a decent jungle champion. Has all right clear speed with the AoE clearing of the Q. And then the ganks are not great. You're not awesome at that, but you are okay. And then the bigger thing is that you're going to try and get into a lot of skirmishes. He actually does a lot of damage just like he does in top lane. And with a Lulu there to maybe help buff him up, he should have some good trades. So we'll see what happens. This is I said I was excited for the pick ban this game. I am still excited for what we got out of this draft.
This is one of those kinds of games. Remember how we were talking about assassin versus assassin? You always get to see somebody go off and have a lot of fun. Well, assassin versus Lulu isn't quite the same thing because Lulu is pretty much the antithesis of an assassin, which means Golden Glue is going to have to overcome quite an obstacle here in order to find huge success on this champion. But if he does, it'll be a really cool chance for everybody to see exactly what it's capable of as he cancels the ramen eating animation, which a lot of people were big fans of on this champ when she first got reworked. And there he goes to town, just having a little bit of lunch before the match starts up. Fang gonna step just out of the way of that Mystic shot.
Yeah, the ramen animation, I heard there were different kinds of ramen. I didn't...
Wait, does she actually have different...
Yeah, there's like a tonkatsu ramen. There's like a Sukumen ramen potentially. I don't exactly know. I forget if I was reading that they tried out different ramens before settling on one, or that there are actually different ramens per skin.
As someone who thought that ramen was strictly just the noodles that you put in the microwave in a foam cup before moving out to California, I'm learning... I didn't even know there were different types.
All right, so to be fair, I had never had ramen or like real ramen before I came to California either. I was a cup of noodle boy as well.
Yeah.
But I did watch Naruto, so I knew that there was plenty of other types of ramen. I just had never experienced them.
Right, you had experienced some amount of weebery that showed you.
My eyes were open.
A little bit of
beyond
knowledge.
Cup of noodles.
Bottom side. Fang taking some damage down here, but Piglet can say the same as potions are going to be popped on both sides to keep these guys topped off. And earlier when you saw the trades in the mid lane, Golden Glue was able to get some nice damage down onto his opponent early on as Moon will secure that Scuttle Crab in the top side for himself and his team, and now move into the jungle of his opponent. He knows that Golden Glue is stuck underneath this turret and will have a hard time rotating over to help his ally.
Right, and this is kind of what we're talking about, the early skirmishing of the Aatrox, much like it's extremely potent in the top lane, it's still very strong in the jungle. Looks like he's going to be backing out here as Shiro has a little bit of priority in the top side and does not want to get collapsed on. 2v1 with a Fiora and Sejuani.
Yeah,
that passes up pretty quick, so he's going to just
that's a rough one.
Continue on with this jungle, and hopefully this buys me some time to explain New Akali. If any of the viewers have missed on what exactly happened with the update.
Tell me about true stealth, Mark.
So it's not stealth, it's obscuring.
Oh yeah, I forgot the terminology. Gonna have to learn that.
Gotta make some new words.
I already goofed.
You already done goof. All right. So with Akali, her Q, when she has above 180 energy, you see her energy bar kind of turns a little bit more orange. It will heal her when she is able to hit things with that. Not even just champions, it works on minions. You get a little bit of heal from it with the Doran shield. That's what I was saying. Usually, even though you'll get harassed, you'll be fine, as we see Gank on Max Trobo here.
Does a really good job there, saving the Sanguine pool right until it looked like FLICKR wanted to use the stun, making sure that he blocked that projectile and gets himself.
Yeah, that's one of the more interesting things is that people don't realize the E from Sejuani, when you activate it, sends a particle flying at them that when it collides, that's when the stun happens. And Vlad's W disjoints all particles, and so that means technically you disjoint the E stun.
That's actually the one interaction that made it so SKT didn't lose to Misfits at Worlds last year. That particle was blocked by a Braum shield.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
Wolf blocked that particle from the Sejuani stun with a Braum Unbreakable and kept SKT alive.
Okay, so right there was that double pullback I was talking about. You saw Piglet go flying just off the pike Q. Once it lands, as that person's being displaced, Swain will also be able to use his passive to pull back even further. Ends up being like close to a 500 range displacement.
It's like Blitzcrank almost.
Yeah, it's like you flash them towards you. It's actually pretty surprising how long that range is. So there's a lot of cool interactions in this game that we're getting to talk about.
Well, we did see the interaction from Svenskeren in the top side trying to make the gank happen onto Clutch Gaming's top laner, but aside from that, there hasn't really been a lot of action out of these two junglers. Svenskeren will be counter-jungling a little bit right now, stealing away those chickens as Moon just continues clearing through his bottom side of the jungle. Clutch Gaming does have themselves a 500 gold lead already, though.
Yeah, that's partially due to the Kleptomancy on Piglet and the fact that he is kind of crushing his lane in CS, as well as the fact that Moon has a small jungle farm advantage as well. But here we see a setup on
Moon. Moon might be in some trouble. Svenskeren coming through with some damage. Moon using the flash gets himself away, and Cloud9 Academy recognizes that is a win in itself.
Yeah, they got a lot of nice setup for the Sejuani here. Both solo laners having melee attacks to make that work. And they tried to use that to get some quick stuns on the Moon, but a good flash away, not really risking it. But that does limit Aatrox jungle's gank threat because, like we were saying, he doesn't have that many great tools. Anyways, let's talk about this obscurity since it's on lane right now and it's going to be obscure to understand what it does. It allows you to be, your position to be known and seen, but you cannot be targeted by abilities.
A skill shot will still hit you.
A skill shot will still hit you. AoE things will still hit you. There's no more resists on the Shroud like used to exist on old Akali. But if you drop a Shroud in front of Syndra, she cannot press R on you and blow you up.
Even if you're underneath the turret.
Even if you're underneath the turret. Turret shots cannot target you. Right clicks for auto attacks cannot target you. Nothing can target you. But when you attack, you will, or use a spell, you'll briefly pop out of the obscured status. So right there you see her pop out for a second. During that time, Lulu could in fact press E on her or something to hit her with a targeted ability. What's really interesting with this, since we talked about it with turrets, and I hope we get to see it this game, is you can actually use it to weave in and out while harassing someone underneath a turret. When a turret shot is targeting a minion, you can use that to throw a Q at someone or an E or get an auto attack off. The turret will target you, and then you'll dip back into obscurity, and it'll drop off you, and you can actually get some really nice harass under a turret with that. As Sven might be in trouble with a big coordinated effort.
Svenskeren trying to take those chickens, but now the initiation from Vulcan looking to bring him down. And Clutch Gaming Academy have found themselves first blood onto the enemy jungle.
Great chain CC there. Vulcan kicks it off the flash headbutt follow combo, and Sun is in position to get the follow-up from his ultimate, and they get that nice kill.
Kill plus stealing the red buff away. You'd really like to see that if you're the side of Clutch Gaming Academy. Just doubling up on that. Now to go over the wall with the blast cone. Counterattack potential is just not there from the side of C9A. They'll make the dragon a little bit angry, so he'll attack him once, but that's it. Let's take another look at how they set it up.
Yeah, you see Sun coming, but no idea Vulcan's around the corners, who instantly goes for that flash headbutt follow combo. And yeah, Sven is behind the jungle already now. After that red buff counter jungle, he's down 2 levels to Moon. We're talking about how the Aatrox does actually clear fairly well with all his AoE in his kit. Starting to get outpaced pretty heavily. And interestingly, goes for the challenging smite on Sejuani to make sure that he can actually skirmish if the Aatrox gets the drop on him there.
Garen will have to make sure that he doesn't fall too far behind his opponent now, considering he's the one who did get killed, and he is down 20 CS in the jungle. I mean, the nice part is you are on a tank jungler, so falling behind isn't going to be as punishing as it was if you were on something like a Graves or a Kindred that needs a high economy. As Golden Glue finds a lot of damage onto Sun right there, weaving in and out of that Shroud, making sure he's able to find some damage through the Q.
Yeah, and one thing he did there that a lot of people are still working on a college is going to be a very high skill cap champion, excuse me, and he threw his E backwards. So what the E does is it throws a shuriken out in front of you and pushes you backwards, kind of like a Caitlyn net. But what it does is when the shuriken hits a champion, or actually anything, it marks them, and you can press E to go flying back in. I think it's anything, not just champions. Either way, what he does...
Yeah, he just flew to that thing.
Yeah, there you go. But what's interesting is in that trade that he took against Sun there is he actually threw the E backwards to use the knockback part to put him closer to his target, and then use the W temporary increased move speed to get in range to throw some Qs and harass him that way. And so it's a little bit more guaranteed than trying to snipe someone with an E and then using the E to get back in range again. You just get the guaranteed gap close in the right direction.
Worth noting as well that the Akali Shroud...
See, there he does it again.
Despite the fact that this champion is an energy-based champion, it's not just like a Riven where you're able to constantly spam with no resource. The Shroud actually restores your energy. It has no cost. So you're never at a point where you can't cast that unless it's already on cooldown. And Golden Glue has been seen using it offensively a couple of times so far, but now we're talking about that cooldown. Golden Glue did recently use it. Moon
Take it.
Show up here in the mid lane, and now the Taxman cometh.
Yeah. Moon shows up, throws some damage out on that wave, says, hey, you need help pushing that, bro? I want this Infernal Drake, so trying to help get priority. Actually focus more on counter jungling right now, but it looks like C9 finally wants to fight back. Not going to happen with the whip on the ult.
Scarin will be happy to take that big chicken from the camp, though. He was 2 levels behind Moon. Now with the EXP from that camp, only 1 level behind. Still trying to keep himself relevant like we were talking about earlier, working on getting that Cinder Hulk done along with that Skirmisher Saber. Moon with the Warrior on the Stalker's Blade means he's going to be much more damage intensive, much more ready to just jump in, find the damage, and make the plays. And I mean, you don't have to be so excessively tanky when you know you can go into the fight with an on-demand Guardian Angel in the form of your ult.
Yeah, and what's really nice about the jungle Aatrox is that he basically gives you free turret dives in any lane. It's one of the things that makes him really annoying in top lane. But if you ever get pressure in one of your lanes, you can easily turret dive. Back in the mid lane for another gank. Here we go.
Well,
actually turret dives.
There's the wings. Golden Glue gets himself out, though. Again, utilizing the mobility on the E, dashing backwards, keeping himself safe. And that's Moon's ult for nothing.
Yep. They did get Golden Glue's ult, so people who don't know what Akali does. First dash is a lot shorter and does physical damage and very temporarily stuns. The second activation, longer stun, magic damage, more damage, and longer range.
Not spammable anymore either. Nope. It's not a 3-charge thing on a 20-second cooldown.
It's a real ultimate ability. First proc, like I said, short range, gap close with an AoE stun on it. Second part, another longer range, more damage, magic, gap closers. We saw a dive bot lane fail for C9 as well. A lot of attempted action in this game, but only a little bit of action connecting.
And while Golden Glue may have expended his own ultimate, you can see that while the ultis are on similar timers, losing a dash, yeah, you're going to lose some of your kill potential, some of your mobility there. But Moon now, with this squishy build, with the Warrior enchantment, has to be very, very mindful of how deep he goes into these fights because he's at much greater risk of just being immediately blown up.
Yeah, I mean, Akali still has the W and E mobility to move around. The Aatrox's kit without the Resurrection needs to be very careful, but both of them off half cooldown with enough jungle up. Moon's just going to continue farming away on that one as he continues to have a monstrous CS lead on the Sejuani.
Shiro will just continue pushing up this top side here as well. The Fiora and Vlad, there's not really been a lot happening in the top side this whole time. They're 100 gold apart. Shiro's at a very, very slight lead, but nothing really noteworthy between these two just yet. Remember, they both become those big scaling monsters as the game goes on, so if they're both allowed to just continue to exist like this, farming up, getting that extra gold that they want from just being able to farm without harass, hopefully we'll get to see some explosive mid-game fights.
Yeah, you can see both mid laners sitting on quite a lot of gold and probably want to be able to get a chop off soon. Since we haven't really touched on it yet, the Akali passive, the way it works is if you hit a champion with an ability, your next attack, it spawns a ring around where you connected on that ability. It's about, I think, 600 range, so you need to break that. It will then empower your next attack and restore energy when you land that attack. So you often need to dart in and out quite a lot with Akali to get the most out of her DPS, and it's one of those things that makes her a high skill cap champion, because you can't just, like a lot of assassins, jump in on them and drop your combo. Your combo actually involves a lot of movement within it.
Cloud9 Academy are thinking about maybe making some movement towards this bottom lane, but it looks like FLICKR's time down here isn't going to pay off immediately. Moon's still hanging around the bottom half of the map as well, and as much as Golden Glue might be able to explode him rather easily in a true 1 versus 1, whenever you've got that Lulu nearby, Sun's going to make sure that that assassination is that much more difficult.
Yeah, definitely the case. Golden Glue does get his Gunblade now, though, so even more sustain coming his way, even more all-in threat. And during that time, it looks like Clutch Gaming is going to go for this Infernal Drake, knowing that he has gone back and shopped, but C9 might pick this fight here, and if Golden Glue can get there with his item bot, that will be a huge advantage for them.
I like the fact that Moon's already got the ult going, wants to make sure he's got the blood well ready to go for when this fight breaks out. Keith now looking to find the damage into the back line onto Sun. Moon goes for the flash over the wall, but his ulti's already run out, and Fang goes in and sets up Golden Glue to find the kill.
All 5 members are down here now, and the rest of Clutch Gaming's bot lane is kind of pinned underneath their turret. Doesn't look like C9 is going to continue the fight. They did use their TP there for only a single kill, and Clutch walked away with the Infernal Drake. So I got to say, Clutch is probably more than all right with just getting out with a single death on the Aatrox. Especially since, like we said, Lulu hadn't shopped. They were definitely not in a position to take that fight, and to come out only down a kill, not bad at all.
Absolutely. You take the Infernal Drake, you let yourself scale up for later, especially when you look at the composition. Yeah, you've got a supportive mid laner, but you've got Piglet on Ezreal, you've got damage in the top lane, you've got damage in the jungle. That Infernal Drake will do plenty of work for this team as time goes on, and here's another look at how it all fits.
And you can see there's a bit of split focus. Sven goes in before anyone else is ready to try and get the Smite Seal, doesn't quite get it, and Clutch Gaming are pretty well in the retreat plan. The bot lane never really collapses to try and fight, and then Moon is able to go right while Sun runs straight up, and it forces them to pick between the two. They do end up going for Moon and get the kill. Well-timed Gunblade proc as the ult ran out. But like I said, more than happy to take that. Got lost some flashes, I guess. So
Gunblade's one of those items that you see very few champions build, but the champions that build it, it is absolutely core to the way the champions play, and it was a necessity on old Akali. It was always the item that got rushed, and it seems new Akali is going to be no.
Yeah, a lot of people still like it. There are some bruisey or tanker top lanes here. We'll see. Worth noting, we were talking about disjoining and the turret not being able to turret aggro. If a turret shot is coming towards her and she drops her shroud to drop turret aggro, it does not disjoint projectiles, so you will still take that damage. So if
projectile popping was removed in Season 2, I think.
From her shroud?
No, just from League of Legends in general.
Other than Vlad and stasis effects that make you intangible.
Right. But like, I mean, because used to in League of Legends, hold on, we might have a fight here as we're going into a history lesson. Vulcan trying to absorb some damage for now, popping the ulti. Very tanky here on the Alistair. True Shot Barrage coming in. Vulcan grabbing the kill onto Shiro, getting himself away from the counterattack from Pyke as well. FLICKR and zoning Max Trobo away off to the side. Now he's got to get himself out of this one. Clutch Gaming Academy looking to grab themselves yet another kill. Underneath the turret they go. Moon going to be tanking this one up. There's that free turret dive potential you were talking about, but have Clutch Gaming gone too deep? Keith comes in and brings him right back into the fight. FLICKR is still going to keep himself alive as Keith goes into the stasis. Feng comes in, finds the stun down onto Moon. Cloud9 Academy go for one, and now Golden Glue, mop and bucket at the ready. Can he clean this up? Where's the 5-point strike? The perfect execution. The hook will find no one. Feng now having to get himself away, utilizing that camouflage. Cloud9 Academy is going to disengage.
Yeah, not quite able to find anything for Golden Glue there. Well played by Keith. It was pretty interesting. He was kind of in the fight, but got forced out to the bot side, so he TPs back around to get involved in that play to protect FLICKR. A bit of a tricky skirmish play by both teams. It's kind of always how things break out when you have so many melee champions, low-range champions, especially assassins in a game. A lot of outplay potential on both sides. Now Piglet might be in a little bit of trouble.
Piglet, let's see if he can dodge away from this. Nice job there. Psyching Fang out, making him fire that hook just a little bit too far forward. All right, this is a pretty long fight, so let's go back and start it from the beginning.
Yeah, so Fang misses the hook initially. Vulcan sees what's going on, kind of gets jumped on, says, I have to go. We have the TP coming in from behind. I got my ultimate on. And they lock down Shiro, who instantly dies. And from here, it looks like it's going to be a great fight, but they can't quite get onto anyone else. And so they try and target down onto Sven, but Keith is going to TP in the short way as Sven buys himself more time. And then Keith lands a really nice root there to pull them back in and bait them into going onto him. During that time, Fang has been able to wrap back around. They find that one kill. Golden Glue comes in here, and he... Oh, never mind. We're not going to see the Golden Glue flub. Axe that plan.
I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier,
dude.
though, because we were talking about projectile popping, and the way League of Legends used to work for people who weren't playing in the olden days, there was a lot more point-and-click abilities. Yeah. Old Scion had a point-and-click 2-second stun on his Q, and I specifically remember being able to, you wait for him to shoot it at you, and as the projectile's traveling, right as it's about to hit your character, if you flash, it hits the ground where your character was, and you just walk away.
Yeah, Flash used to be able to disjoint abilities. I think a lot of other things did too. Oh, there's the E-Connect.
Oh, that's a lot of damage coming out there from just a quick burst from Golden Glue, who's looking to make the 1v1 happen, and the perfect execution rings true to the name. He takes down Sun, only losing a quarter of his health in the process.
And assuming there's no other action in the top side, which there will be, I would love to take another look at that solo kill in a second, but first this.
Moon coming in, trying to find the knockup, misses it on the first part of the cast of the Q. It's Keith going into the ulti, but it's not going to be enough. Remember, he already used that stopwatch before. No way out of this one.
Yeah, so they're going to go and send Sven Scare to the mid lane to try and push this down because Moon has shown topside. Clutch are going to stay around the top and try and take that one down, but I will always take a mid turret for a top one.
Yep, mid-turret, it's right there at the very center of the map. There's so much of your enemy's map control that gets sort of compromised when that goes down. You can move into the jungle so much easier, set down the vision, look to make the collapses and the rotations that'll provide you the opportunities to get those pushes going in the side lanes.
And they're not even going to be able to take this top turret because as soon as they finish off that mid one, they pressure the top side. So he lands the E, which gives him the reconnect to jump on him. You're going to see him back out there. It was to pick up his passive from his Q landing. And then he uses his next two ult charges, or the only ult charge that he has, the gap closers, to get back in range and actually kill him. So the need to back out situationally can look funny, but it's going to pick up your passive procs. We see another all-in in the bot lane here.
Bottom side 1v1 quickly turns into a 2v1. Moon wants to swoop in here, provide the backup for Shiro to go down, but Shiro will get himself out with the mobility from that Fiora. Max Trobo is going to maintain control of the lane, though. Continue shoving this one up.
Interesting build by Max Trobo. A lot of people against Fiora and things like that might think, okay, I want armor and I'll get a Zhonya's early or something like that. He actually goes for the Morello Namicon to cut into the healing that comes through with Fiora's passive procs, giving her health back. So a pretty interesting way of counter building that I don't think I've seen quite as often, but still makes a lot of sense in that matchup.
I also really like it just specifically in this game. When you look at the itemization from Shiro, it's not a Tiamat into a Trinity Force or a Black Cleaver. It's a full Ravenous Hydra. He's itemized much more for lifesteal and sustain going up against this Vladimir, so the healing reduction seems to fit.
Yeah, and it works against almost everyone else on the team too, right? We see Golden Glue with a lot of sustain with his Q and the Gunblade. Obviously, Swain has a lot. Even the Pike has a ton of sustain when he's out of range, so it can work in a lot of different ways for them here.
Drake picked up by the side of Cloud9 Academy. That will be their first one of the game. Mountain compared to Infernal means C9A will have the opportunity to shove these objectives down a little bit more as the game goes on. But right now, they're not really the ones looking for objectives. They're not the ones pushing the issue so much as it seems like Clutch Gaming Academy are those that are looking for the plays more frequently. You can see them hanging around the Baron pit right now. Baron is live 21 minutes into the game, so if anything gets too spicy, Mark, we might just see a pretty early Baron.
We'll have to see. Both teams are not great at the Barons. As we see, attempt on the Sun. There's that double pullback.
There you go. There's the pseudo blitzcrank damage coming out there. Sun has to flash over the wall. He uses that escape mechanism as well as the wild growth. And now Cloud9 Academy has some playmaking potential. With those Lulu resources already spent, this is when you look to really find some kills.
Yeah, with the Pike, they're going to be trying to split this map open. They got a 1-3-1 with both melee carries in the side lanes, and if they push out the mid, Fang can make plays. Has to be careful while he does it, though, because he doesn't want to go face check things as a squishy support.
He's squishy, but he is equally slippery. That champion is so hard to actually catch unless you just get a perfect chain CC down onto him. but Golden Glue will be left to his own devices here in the side lane. You can see the 5-point strike now that he's got all the damage, is just clearing these minion waves away instantly.
And that's the big thing about the clearing the waves is that he's getting blue buffs, which on energy champions is something that historically we're like, why are you giving blue buff? Even though it does help with the regen, they're more combo-based champions. But Akali's Q is actually on, like, when you get some CDR, like a 1.5 second cooldown. It's insanely low. So the extra base mana regen from the blue buff is super useful, as we see him get baited into an all-in here.
Sun still hanging around. Remember, Sun has no ulti available, so now he does have the ultimate available. Excuse me, the cooldown just coming back available now, as Golden Glue will find himself 1 kill. Pops the passive on the Aatrox now here too, as the counterattack comes through from Max Drobo, who looks to bring down Golden Glue. Very nice use of stasis there to keep himself alive, flashing out into the Twilight Shroud as well, and Golden Glue lives to see another day.
Some clean Akali mechanics there by Golden Glue, showing that he has put enough games in on this champion to pull it off in competitive 3-0 after that top lane fight.
Very well done.
And this is one of those times where one team burns the TP, Shiro stays in the bot lane, so he's going to get some alone time to kind of get ahead of the Vladimir as well.
It's always a bad feeling when you're the top laner who's just been locked in this eternal 1v1 and then everything else ends up giving the opponent the advantage. But let's take a look at how Golden Glue pulls this off again.
Yeah, so he makes sure he backs up, and the E will go as far as long as the mark is on them. You will always go to that champion, so he's able to get back in range, jumps on top, and here's where that blue buff regen so big that is able to get another rotation of spells off despite not having his Shroud come back up till after he comes out of stasis. The Shroud is a huge part of your energy gain mechanic, like you were saying. And when you don't have blue buff, you're kind of limited to one rotation of spells. Or not rotation, but like one fight. You're limited to one skirmish because the cooldown can be a little long until you get more CDR. And she does have that slight energy regain mechanic from her passive, but if you're not getting those procs off, you will quickly run out of energy just Q spamming. It's really interesting way of balancing energy in the kit, where your E is by far, or your Q is by far your biggest energy taker while being your most spammable spell.
The champion also doesn't fall into the category that many champions do these days of just having CDR naturally come into the build early and often. When you see a lot of these mid lane mages building items that give 10, 20% CDR just time after time, it's pretty easy to see them hit upper limits of CDR, but when you have the Gunblade be your core item, that doesn't give anything. Yeah, you get 10% from the Zhonya's, but you want the Sorcerer Shoes compared to the cooldown boots, so you're still only sitting on 10% right now. It is going to be quite a long uptime still on those cooldowns, as there's the chain CC I'm talking about. There is no fish slippery enough to get out of that one.
And that is the situation we're talking about. The Pyke cannot really get that tanky, even though he's building those armor items. He gets the resist, but he never gets more HP, and that makes him pretty vulnerable to pick-offs when fighting for vision.
I mean, he has Aftershock, but you got to do some CC to land that, and if you just go splat, no time for CC.
And no team around him to help him out. So this will buy Clutch Gaming some breathing room, as it felt like the game was starting to slip away from them. As the map started opening up, you saw the split push advantages and the Assassins coming to play for C9 here. And they will continue to try and split this map up, but if you're able to find that pick-off, it does give you that time to start fighting for vision control back. And you see a number of deep wards now on that top side by Clutch.
Golden Glue, 5-point strike, instantly clears the back line, 2 hits the front line. So with 3 casts of that Q that you were talking about, you've killed everything that is not a cannon minion.
And that's actually a pretty big energy spender if you're playing Akali. It can feel bad if someone tries to scrap you while you're clearing a minion wave. So that's why you see in the top lane builds, a lot of them actually like Titanic Hydra and like Sterix or something like that, and you go for a much bruisery focused build. There are still a fair amount of AD ratios, and the Titanic is what gives you the wave clear you need to split push very well. The AP build, the ratios are a little bit better to empower your Q for that pushing, but it can still be a little dicey if you spend your entire energy on the wave.
All right, riddle me this, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the itemization from the side of Clutch Gaming Academy.
Yeah.
0 MR for Vlad, Merc Treads for Aatrox, Merc Treads for Lulu, 0 MR on Ezreal, 0 MR on Alistair, Void Staff for Golden Glue.
Yeah, that's a bad item.
I'm not feeling it.
You're not feeling it for a couple of reasons. One, a fair amount of her kit is actually physical damage. Like I was saying, the first proc of your R, your second proc is magic. I think your Q is magic, and your E is physical, and your passive, I believe, is magic. So a non-negligible portion. Oh my god.
Oof. But it doesn't matter when you got some damage potential like that. The comma is swinging. Cloud9 Academy are looking to take this fight all the way. Let's see if they can find anybody of value here. Vulcan and the ulti going to be soaking up most of the damage at the start. Golden Glue taken very low. That means it's hard for Cloud9 Academy to continue the chase in full force. FLICKR pops the stone plate to make sure he doesn't go down, and Cloud9 decides to back off.
Yeah, they actually don't get that much out of Clutch, despite looking like that is going to be fantastic. They only get Moon's ultimate, which is still useful, but no flashes or summoners gained. So not actually able to find that kill. And to return to your discussion about the Void Staff,
yeah,
it's not an optimal item on Akali. Normally, you still often need it come late game to pierce through tanks and people who are actually stacking armor, MR. But there isn't.
There are none.
Yeah, you can easily go Oblivion Orb into the Morellonomicon to deal with the Vladimir's regen, with the Aatrox, with just general lifesteal that will be coming in, while still penning a fair amount of the slight MR that they only have through their Merc threats. So, gotta agree with you there, Captain Flowers.
All right, Fang goes in though. Piglet might be caught out here in some serious trouble. Fang now the one who has to make sure he goes into the stasis, keeping himself safe and alive. Moon wants to bring him down. Instead, he's going to be beat down by Shiro, and the heal keeps Fang going. As Cloud9 Academy go 1 for 0 there, they also find themselves a turret there in the top side, and Shiro is not done. Looking to chase down Max Trobo in this 1 versus 1. Max Trobo decides to turn things around with the Hemo Plague, goes into the Sanguine Pool. Heal going to be coming out on that one. Shiro can't find the kill, but he is in no means in a bad spot.
Very strong Fiora right now. Like I said, finally finishing that Triforce. And it feels like they're buying enough pressure now, and they have excellent vision, so they actually just start this Baron off. Their damage is a little low. Akali is involved now, so hopefully they'll be able to do it, but it's not
Moon blew
going
through the
down
Shuriken over the wall and missed Baron, so he couldn't jump in with the E like he wanted to initially. Vulcan wants to initiate onto this one. TP going to be coming in here as well. Remember, Max Trobo does not have the ultimate available. That's a pretty big tool as Vulcan goes into his own ulti mode. Piglet going to be kept alive. The wild growth from the Lulu there, making sure the 80 carry is able to keep on going. Whoa. As Vulcan gets taken low. Piglet barely going to be walking away from that one. Cloud9 Academy find themselves the win in the short-term fight, but can they take this all the way? Keith taken incredibly low. Piglet doing a good job using these Mystic shots at maximum range.
Some edge-of-your-seat team fighting there as Piglet almost gets popped early on, has the wild growth to keep him alive. He goes back in, and then you see both massive AoE ultimates getting popped, both by the Vladimir and by the, or excuse me, not by the Vladimir, by the Swain, almost finding a number of kills at the very end of this fight. So Piglet almost dies. Big headbutt pulse combo, plus his Seraph stays completed as a double tier Ezreal, keeping him alive. And then there's that massive AoE, doesn't actually find the kill, and now they're getting kited out a little bit. And you see the nice stopwatch by Keith to just barely stay alive. Any extra damage there, he's going to get popped. And very close fight that is only a 1-for-1, multiple people limping away with blinking health bars.
Imagine what it would have looked like if the Hemo Plague was available. It was critical that Shiro made that get used by Max Trobo just before that fight happened there in the bottom lane. As Fing now, once again, the one that Clutch Gaming tried to pick on as he tries to clear out some of this vision, set down some for his own team. But they can't get him that easily. I think he probably learned his lesson last time about walking into brushes and putting yourself in a spot where they might be able to collapse with multiple people. He does have Frozen Heart here as well, which isn't the best item in terms of the aura being effective against this enemy team. There's not a lot of use you're going to get out of that attack speed debuff up against 2 AD casters and 2 mages, but he's still getting armor, he's still getting cooldown.
Yeah, it's still one of the better options for Pyke, just because you like you said the mana. If you're spamming Q in lane and things like that, like it can be nice to not have to ever worry about your mana. The armor is huge. Yeah, cooldown reduction is huge, and because almost every other armor item has HP on it, you'd rather get a less valuable.
Oh, out of the bushes goes Golden Glue, trying to find the damage he needs here onto Sun. And he's got more than enough to take him down as Vulcan now tries to get himself away from the collapse for the rest of Cloud9 Academy. Fang goes for the ultimate, can't quite find the accuracy he's looking for. FLICKR still gonna stay on the front line here, trying to stay alive. Can't get himself away from Moon as Keith and Fang now have to try to continue this fight, but there's nothing to gain. Moon will get himself away with the power of the ultimate. 1-for-1 over there as Shiro will continue to push here in the bottom side. And Fiora has reached the point where it's very difficult for Vlad to deal with. Again, I'm not fully understanding these Void Staffs and the obsession with them, because the only person that's going to be useful against is FLICKR, and for Max Trobo, it's not going to help you in this split push situation. It's not going to help you dive the back line or kill any of the valuable targets on the side of Cloud9 Academy, and I got to scratch my head on that one. I got to give it another thinking emoji, Mark.
Yeah, that's another thinking emoji. I don't know exactly what item or gold values he was sitting on, but you have to think building towards a death cap would be much.
Get a hat.
Yeah, start building that hat. Here, we'll take another look at this one. Ease over the wall, uses his first charge of his ult to get this actual gap closer he needs. Another small mechanic on Akali is the very tip of your Q, if you space it right, will apply a little slow. So that allowed him to stay on top of the Lulu as well as having the extra slow from his gunblade. Here, the rest of the team just goes a little bit too deep. They tunnel on trying to finish the Alistar off, who was able to get out using the blast cone of all things to dodge the Pike ultimate. But yeah, like you said, can't say I love that Void Staff. It's just not going to do much. And it's not even like a down payment where like, oh, I know they're buying MR later. I'll just get this now because I know it's going to happen. Like, Fiora doesn't need to buy MR later. Akali will not be buying MR later. Maybe a Banshee's Veil, but unlikely. And then Swain is probably not getting MR either. So it's not even like...
It's only for Sejuani.
It's only for Sejuani, maybe Pike, but it's one of those things where you can do that later and get a much better item now. I understand it when it's like triple tank comp. They haven't built MR yet, but it's coming for sure.
Right. You prime it. You get it ready to go.
There's a single tank.
Well, Vulcan gets himself yoinked into the rest of the team here. Soaks some damage early on. Not going to pop the ulti on that one. Recognizes the fact that Cloud9's not going to want to commit that much with two of their big damage dealers in those side lanes. But the 1-3-1 threat is very, very strong from this Cloud9 Academy team. Shiro is constantly pressuring this bottom lane. Golden Glue the same thing in the top. And when you try to collapse on the mid lane 3, Fang slithers away. Golden Glue goes into his obscurity. And Keith just says, okay, you can't kill me.
I really, the more I'm saying it live on broadcast, I liked the keyword initially, obscured, but it doesn't play well for casting.
Nope.
Because obscurity is not the word I want to be saying 5 times in a team.
Well, Vulcan now finds himself once again in the middle of everybody on the side of C9A. Golden Glue looking to zone everyone else away. Uses the Shroud to provide himself that zoning opportunity while not putting himself in any real danger. Sun popping the Wild Growth onto his own Lulu to make sure he doesn't get taken down, but now his AD carry's already out of the picture and Piglet is gone. Vulcan tries to turn the attack right back around on the Golden Glue, but again, he's in the safety of the Shroud. It's a double kill for Keith, who grabs the kill onto Moon, and Cloud9 Academy goes 2-for-0 in that one.
And C9 finally find a fairly decisive fight. A lot of these have been 1-for-1s. Here, it's a 2-for-0, and they were able to have Shiro 1v1 Max Robo to stop him from TPing in, and the Vladimir is a much more effective team fighter. So if Shiro can keep these to 4v4s or 3v3s, whatever, he's doing his job. And that fight reflects that as they're able to find a kill. Finally, they're still a little hesitant around the Baron. Not quite finding that one started yet.
Shiro is so completely itemized for this 1v1 as well. Trinity Force, Ravenous Hydra, and now Essence Reaver for popping your ult and then lunge, 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 lunge.
It is extremely fun to play with that item. I feel like Essence Reaver is just the item that...
it's so fun.
It's one of the most fun items in the game. Not always the optimal solution, but I think does make a fair amount of sense here. And now, though a little slow to start it, they knew they had enough time. They finally go and turn on that Baron buff, take it down. 4-3.
Good pickup for Cloud9 Academy. This game was really close for a long time, but now Cloud9 Academy 5K up. Let's take another look at how this fight starts off.
Watch what
Vulcan again.
Watch what Golden Glue does on the top side here. He drops his Shroud and just stands there. So Piglet feels scared to walk in, and he can't get auto attack. He can only get Q'd. Once he throws his Q out, then he can start get focused down. But he's kind of bought a lot of time from the main damage dealer from this 4-man group of Piglets to just kind of sit there and not be able to walk forward. He does get a slight mispositioning there as Piglet finally gets popped off. Blue's ultimate wears off, so they're able to focus him down. And Golden Glue does a great job of dancing in and out of this fight to stay alive and buying space for his team, though he wasn't really the one finding all the kills.
Yeah, as much as I gave him a hard time for the Void Staff purchase earlier, Golden Glue's play on the champion so far, his actual mechanical ability on this new Akali, has been fun to watch. I think he's done a very solid performance.
Yeah, absolutely showing he understands different combos within the champion, the ease backwards just to get in range on things. It's something where if the enemy team hasn't played against that much Akali, you might think, all right, well, as long as I dodge the Shuriken, he's not going to be able to hop onto me that easily, but showing that he is more than willing to just be in there.
We've got over 2 minutes left now on the Baron buff for Cloud9 Academy. They've got both turrets down on the top side. Let's see if Clutch Gaming can make the collapse here in the mid lane. It's Keith who's in some trouble here at the start. Svenskeren throws the ulti over the wall, looking to keep him protected. Keith still wanting to walk away from this one, gets himself out of the range of the chains from the Aatrox. Still going to be kept alive, and Keith walks away. Now the counterattack comes in. What can Golden Glue find? It looks like it's going to be Vulcan. It looks like it's going to be more. Moon is already out of there now, too. No way for the ulti to save him when it's already worn off. 2 dead on the side of Clutch Gaming Academy. Cloud9 turned that one around.
And Keith TP's back in to keep the pressure up after he was so close to dying there. Lived just long enough to give it time for the rest of his team to collapse. And once Golden Glue showed up, he was able to win that fight pretty decisively for them. Him and the Pike both combining for a kill each, and now is 5v3 on the map yet again.
Max Trovo just continues having to try to deal with this Fiora. It's a very tall task. Cloud9 will bulldoze down the bottom lane turret as the pushes just will not stop coming. Clutch Gaming in retreat now as they have lost 2 out of 3 of the inhibitor turrets. Inhibitor number 1 goes down in the bottom side. Number 2 here in mid lane likely singing the same song in just a moment. There we go. Shiro just saying, all right, come on up, boys. Let's finish off this 3rd one. As we'll see Vulcan get pulled into the team. He'll go for the pulverize. Won't find a whole lot of success with that just yet. Didn't have the ulti. Still a couple seconds away from that one being off of cooldown again. Moon's going to be pulled back to the rest of the team. Wild Growth will keep him healthy for now. Shiro dashes himself back away. It's 3 inhibs down for the side of Clutch Gaming Academy, as Moon and the rest of the team try to get themselves away from the Cloud9 onslaught, but it looks like that will be all she wrote. The game is coming to its conclusion now as the Nexus will explode, and it looks like Cloud9 Academy is looking as good as ever here in the final week.
Yeah, all 10 members up alive, but not able to defend their Nexus at all. The 1-3-1 split push, able to take all 3 inhibitors at around the same time and then ride that into the base, and we get to have one of the most fun games I think I've watched this season in Academy.
I always enjoy seeing when you have a new champion like that with the Akali, just that first solo kill that happened onto the Lulu in mid lane, you know Sun wasn't anticipating that kind of damage. Anytime you see an actual solo kill, no influence whatsoever from anyone else on the map, someone made a mistake in not respecting the damage or not respecting the positioning or something along those lines. And when a champion is that new, it's very easy to make those mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely the case where, especially with how he's playing it, he's throwing these E's backwards the entire time for trading combos, finally throws one forwards, and now he gets a full gap close onto you with your passive proc already applied. That's one of the nice things about the E is as soon as you land it, it spawns the mark so far away, you get your passive instantly, so when you reactivate the E, you can get an instant auto off. Anyways, just saying, Golden Glue played that very well for that solo kill.
All right, let's go ahead and actually take a look at some of the kills that Golden Glue was able to find on the Akali this game, because he racked up quite a few of them by the time the Nexus blew up.
So that E instantly gives the passive proc, so when you go in there with your Gunblade proc, your E damage, and that, you actually get a ton of damage off, and then he's able to use the ultimates to kind of finalize the kill, as well as making sure you picked up one more. Here, another good fight. Goes for the Q, backs off, gets his passive. You see him kind of spinning that thing. E's over. A nice interrupt by the Lulu to stop that gap closer from completing, but there's just too much stickiness in the kit, and Golden Glue is still able to find those kills. Once again here, he goes for this time the E backwards to get into the fight, knowing that he has enough damage already that he doesn't need to connect the E. And you just see once Akali gets ahead, how sticky she is.
For people who struggle against Lulu and feel like she always shuts down their playmaking capability in game, that montage had to be borderline therapeutic as Golden Glue just found his mark over and over and over. But now I want to take one more look at the final fight that brought down the base, what Cloud9 did to put those final nails in the coffin here.
And you can just feel how spread apart Clutch Gaming feels like they are. They go on to the Alistar while the rest of the team is trying to deal with Baroned up minions, and that forces the ult out of him, so he's back. Moon has to stopwatch here to buy enough time for his ultimate to come up, so you can finally get that off, but even then, he's forced to back out right away while that stacks up, and it's just not enough lockdown CC really on the side of Clutch Gaming to force a team fight once they fall behind like this. I think their comp was largely still fine. You saw it got some advantages early on, but the side of the 1-3-1 comp from C9 did a good job in the mid-game finding that lead for themselves.
I think Cloud9 played their comp incredibly well this game, because when you look at it on paper, it has very low range, and it looks like one of those compositions that if it falls behind, it's like, well, what in the hell would you ever even do?
Yeah.
You'd have a Swain that was behind, you would have 2 of these split push champions that couldn't maintain their split push, but instead, the game was even for a large portion of it, and Cloud9 built leads by taking the game and putting it into a state where even means they're ahead.
Right, and it was a clever draft by Clutch Gaming to make sure that they didn't end up with losing lanes, because they had that Fiora counter pick into the Aatrox initially, but they flexed that around. That allowed Moon to get really ahead on the jungle Aatrox, as well as getting a good matchup on the top side, which is why they actually won that early game. But like you said, it was very impressive by C9 from then on to not continue to fall behind once this very short-range comp did not find an early lead.
And we said at the beginning of the day, introducing the teams and just kind of talking about the state of Academy right now, that Cloud9 Academy is that team that has just stood out so far this split. They're the one that even coming into this week, everybody knows, okay, they've already locked the playoff bye. Their performance so far has been so good that they deserve this. And just being able to do this, to execute well on the 1-3-1, to pick up the brand new champion and play it to success like this, it showcases why this team's so good.
Right, and it's very scary to see them busting out very new champions, different strategies heading into the playoffs, because they were playing Orianna not too long ago and put it in the bot lane of all things, and you're thinking, oh my god, all right, that's a little wonky. And then they're doing this stuff, so I think no team wants to play C9 from a player skill perspective, and it also looks like they're more than willing to branch out with very interesting strategies.
Well, they're always fun to watch from a viewer perspective. Game 1 is done now, but we are just getting started. When we come back, it's a battle for the final playoff bye between CLG Academy and Team Liquid. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this one. Aaron trying to take those chickens, but now the initiation from Vulcan looking to bring him down. And Clutch Gaming Academy have found themselves first blood. The Stasis keeping himself safe and alive. Moon wants to bring him down. Instead, he's going to be beat down by Shiro, and the heal keeps Fang going to make sure he doesn't get taken down. But now his AD carry's already out of the picture, and Piglet is gone. Vulcan tries to turn the attack right back around on the Golden Glue, but again, he's in the safety of the Shroud. Now the counterattack comes in. What can Golden Glue find? It looks like it's going to be Vulcan. It looks like it's going to be more.